Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Marco Collective Gamer 77 or Marco CG77 here. And today we'll be going over a quick overview of Sengoku 3, the last in the series released by SNK back in 2001, kind of near the end when they were about to go bankrupt, before of course they reformed later to become SNK Playmore. This game was released in the arcade in Japan on July 18th of 2001 and North America that same year as well. This game can of course be picked up on the MVS, the Neo Geo AES, the Wii Virtual Console, Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, of course the Neo Geo Mini. It's also available on Prime Gaming as well, and of course the MVSX. This game is the last in the series, as I had mentioned, and it's actually a pretty decent title with some things that kind of hold it back from greatness. Theme wise, it is a little bit of a departure from 1 and 2. The It doesn't have quite that same Buckaroo Banzai type of a theme to it that the first two versions had. This game, of course, does come out much later. Um, and was developed by Noise Factory versus actually SNK themselves. So SNK was the publisher, with Noise Factory being the developer. So that could also attribute as to why this game has definitely a different feel compared to the first two games. And as I mentioned, the theme itself is slightly different. It's still a two-player beat 'em up, but this time around you do have four characters to initially choose from. You have Kagetsura, Falcon, Kurenai, and Kongo. After you beat the game's first three stages, you are able to get two extra characters, Okuni and Byaku, once you do defeat them in your quest to defeat the evil samurai emperor. Most of the characters in this game, basically actually all of the characters in the game, does always carry now a weapon at all times, unlike the first game. The characters are, a bit more play balanced. There's some variety in regards to the characters as far as overall speed and some of their specials as well. Some of the characters also have a little bit further reach thanks to their weapons. The gameplay does now use all four buttons, much like Sengoku 2. Uh, the A button swings your weapon, and of course, multiple presses of the A button brings out an auto, kind of basically like an auto combo. The same thing with the pressing button B, which is basically a punch or a kick, basically a physical attack, not using your weapons. And you can also do other things like pressing down, down, AB to add on some extra special moves as well. You can also grab and throw your opponents as well using A and B or down plus B to pick up, say, items, the items that you have. So, for example, there's a kunai, a ninja star, and a bomb, and even a plate. If you do pick up a different item from the one you currently possess, it will take over the other item, much like Castlevania, and that sub item, the other sub item, will disappear. However, if you pick up the same item, like say if you had two bombs in your sub inventory, and you picked up another bomb pickup, that bomb pickup will add to your overall number of, say, bombs, kunai, ninja stars, or plates. Some of the other nice pieces with this game coming out much later in 2001 is it now add both forward dashes in order to execute a back attack, forward attack, or even you can dash backwards as well to evade. The nice thing about that is each character is slightly different. I did favor the heavier character who carries a steel or possibly a petrified, almost like a club, as he has a nice little forward dash attack. The game, as I mentioned, does start off with an initial three stages, which is China, Japan, and Italy. After beating a game, the other stages will unlock, like Brazil, US, and Kyoto. There are also some pieces as you go through the game and go through the stages where they actually have alternate paths that you can go after, say, beating up some of like, say, a wall or a barrier that's a bit hidden. Every stage does come up with a boss. This game I'm playing here is the AES version and is a bit harder since, of course, you're limited to 4 lives plus the one you're currently using. Um, Unlike, say, the MVS system, where you can just keep adding credits as you go. Of course, after talking a little bit about the gameplay, I do need to talk about the graphics. Since this game does come out later in 2001, the game itself is much more modernized, there's a lot more frames of animation. The characters do retain a similar size as what they had in Sengoku 2, in order to introduce, of course, a lot of different enemies into the screen. And I mean by different enemies, they are still palette swaps. Unfortunately, they did not move away from that, considering, of course, how old the hardware is. But the characters themselves are, and even the enemies are animated very well. There's quite a variety to the background, and then the themes themselves are definitely more. I would say a bit more modern in respect. As I mentioned earlier in the overview, it's got less of a Buckaroo Banzai that the first two games kind of had. The animations are well done. There's not too much lag as far as between pressing the button and seeing it enact over in the game. Thanks to the auto combos for both the physical attacks or even the weapon attacks, that does move along pretty well. The throw animations are great, along with the extra special moves. So definitely no qualms there. The one piece that I do have to complain about when it comes to the graphics is some of the hitboxes or the pickup boxes. It's a little, I don't want to say loose, but it's not quite as tight as I think it needs to be, or possibly needs to be a little bit more generous in some respects. So the actual attacks aren't too bad. The one piece that I don't like is when you're picking up items, you have to specifically be right on top of it, whereas in some games, like say Streets of Rage, there's a little bit more of a forgiveness and a leeway, especially while you're getting surrounded. If you're trying to hit down and the B button, which is a normal physical attack, to pick up a weapon, and some of the other, say, beat 'em ups, it's a little bit more generous. You don't have to be specifically like pixel right on top, whereas this one you definitely do, which is again a little bit of annoying. Some of the attacks, I feel that the ranges for some of the characters should be a little bit larger or a wider reach considering some of the weapons they're using. I think the power and the speed definitely are, there's definitely enough variation when it comes to the characters. You won't notice the damage they do until you actually, are taking a look at the enemy life bar as you're doing the auto combo. So pretty much my only gameplay knock is that it has to be, it's a little finicky when it comes down to the pickups. Other than that, definitely do enjoy it. Sound, music, very, very solid. Um, and overall, I think the this game in a way wasn't really meant for the arcades. And what I mean by that is thanks to the other stages being hidden, it really seems that Noise Factory designed this game really more for long-term and repeat play. Just because the other stages are hidden, and a lot of the other pieces, if you didn't know about the hidden barriers, things of that nature, you can miss out. So I think in that respect, this game was definitely developed and designed with more home play in mind. As an arcade game, I still think Sengoku 2 is a better overall game because it definitely captures more of that feel. What you see is kind of what you get. Sengoku 3, however, is a better home game only because of the secrets that you eventually do unlock. The initial three stages are really quick. That would be my other gripe. They don't feel quite as expansive. I think the Noise Factory went for more of a quicker, shorter stages in order to possibly promote extra gameplay after you defeat the first three, and then unlock the other three, say, stages, and of course the extra two characters. Whether how often that actually happened in the arcade, especially with some of the finickiness in regards to picking up either power ups or items, I honestly can't say for sure. But overall, still a very solid game. Easily, for me, be a 7 out of 10. You can't go wrong with picking up either 2 or 3. 2 I still think is one of my favorites only because of the theme of, again, very similar to Buckaroo Banzai. The hard part, of course, with collecting, especially physically, will be kind of dependent on your budget and how strict you want to be when it comes to the versions. So this game was released near the end of the life cycle for the SNK company. So not many home versions were actually released. Hence, a lot of the if you are looking for full and complete versions, you're probably looking anywhere, at least as of 2022, between $1,500 to $4,000 for a complete home Nintendo Neo Geo AES version. That said, you can pick this up on MVS physically, and there are MVS conversions that are available. I don't, if you're a collector, I don't recommend picking up these conversions as it kind of drives down the collectability of it. That said, if you are someone that just wants a physical version and would never play it physically, never play it digitally because you're a stringent diehard, it has to be on physical. That would be one way. There are quite a few places that do sell a conversion of Sengoku 3, which is basically using an older, say, Neo Geo cartridge and then adding the MVS either EEPROM to it, or some folks are just actually copying it and putting it on Neo Geo. Again, I don't condone those or recommend those, but they are out there. Um, I do recommend picking up digitally again if you are able to or have no qualms about playing this game digitally, as it is much cheaper. You can pick it up for $7.99 on via the ACA kind of collection, both on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and Windows. And if you lucked out with Amazon Prime, these are actually one of the games that's available on that service. That said, you can also pick it up on, say, the Neo Geo MVSX. You can also pick it up for the Neo Geo Mini, etc. So there are definitely other avenues. Of course, those are more emulated. Let's say having the actual factual. But at least you have choices there. Overall, I would definitely give this game still a 7, 7.5 out of 10. It's a hard choice between Sengoku 2 and 3. I think 2 still captures a lot of the themes. Considering it was released in 1993, I do forgive the fact that the gameplay isn't as varied as Sengoku 3, which did come out in 2001, many years later. That said, can't go wrong. If you did have to pick up one and you're a fan of the theme and the setting, I do recommend Sengoku 2. But if you're looking for more gameplay variety, especially for a home game, definitely Sengoku 3. But you can't go wrong, especially if you are picking up digitally. So, with that, I do thank everyone for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see next for some Neo Geo or even some Capcom arcade games.